everybody. Welcome back to Outside the Cinema, your weekly source for cult movie discussions. We're your hosts, Bill and Chris. And Christopher.
Yes.
This is the first episode of the start of season 17, year 17 of OTC.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess technically, like, we don't actually really fill our 17th year until we get to next year, but, like, we're at that in-between where we're, like, on our way to 17.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because if it's, I don't know, either way, we've done a lot of shows.
We have.
We've been doing this for a very long time.
Yeah. 2008.
2008. Yeah, man, I don't understand why we're still doing it, but hey, it is
you
what
keep
it
sending
is.
me titles of movies to watch.
I know, right? Jesus. Jesus. I'm a little tired today. Sorry. Stayed up and watched the Super Bowl last night.
I did not.
Yeah, I mean, I always watch, even if it's teams that I don't care about. I am definitely not a Chiefs fan, and I'm also really not an Eagles fan either, but I did want to see the Chiefs lose.
Okay.
So it was it was the Patriots fan of me, because the conversation has been that the Chiefs are the new dynasty, and everyone's like, they're better than the Patriots were, and that's not really something you can decide now, because the Patriots had a dynasty that went over 20 years. So
Well, also, they didn't lose to the Birds, so.
they did, actually, didn't they?
Oh, that's what I meant to say. Yeah, so how can they have a dynasty if they're losing to Philadelphia?
I don't know. We lost to the Giants twice. The three Super
All
Bowls,
I know-
the
all
three
I-
Super Bowls that Brady and Belichick lost, two of them were to the Giants, and I think the other one was to Philadelphia,
Oh,
actually. So they did both lose.
okay.
They did both lose to the Eagles.
I've been watching Abbott Elementary just because I needed a new show to watch, and they seem all right. So
I haven't watched it, but tell me.
Takes place in Philadelphia, so I was interested. So obviously there's a whole lot of Eagles stuff going on there.
Yeah,
So.
worst fan base in the world.
I don't know. Jesus' fan base is pretty bad too.
In terms of professional sporting fan bases.
It goes Jesus, Star Wars, Eagles.
That's fair.
Muhammad can come in fourth there. That's fine.
That's fine. I did like seeing the Chiefs lose, though, because I can't with Patrick Mahomes. Like, I know how good he is. He's so
What's the
good.
deal? What's the deal with him? Why do people hate him? Is he like Tom Brady in another team?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
Yeah,
fair.
that's exactly what it is. When you have the success, people hate you, and the continued success, people come in. And then the same thing happened to the Patriots. And I remember saying, I understand why everyone hated the Patriots, because they were in the Super Bowl like
Yeah.
6 out of 10 years or whatever it was.
Right. Same thing with the Yankees.
Yep.
And,
The
you know.
Yankees were the last professional sports team to do a three-peat, actually. So,
Well, the big complaint I remember hearing about that is that they have all the money in the world so they can get whoever they want.
yeah, there's no salary cap in baseball.
Yeah.
But the thing I enjoyed the most about last night's game was that they made a big deal, not a super big deal, but they made a pretty big deal about Trump attending the game and how he was the first sitting president to actually attend the game.
Emphasis on sitting.
Yes.
Yeah.
But the best thing was when Kendrick Lamar did his halftime show.
Right. I haven't read this. What happened?
I mean, he did a very African-American performance of, celebrating his heritage of being from Compton. He had Samuel L. Jackson playing Uncle Sam and doing these kind of like intro skits about how Kendrick needs to stay in his lane and he shouldn't be outspoken and all this stuff. So it was very, it wasn't outright anti like Trump's America, but it was very thinly veiled.
Well, if it's anti-racism, then it's definitely anti-Trump.
Well, yeah, so. as a black man, Kendrick Lamar is obviously anti-racism. So
yeah. Well, I mean, we can't say obviously anymore.
True. Okay, that's
we?
fair. That's fair because Kanye West is very fucking racist.
And that other black Nazi down in Georgia too.
Oh yeah, we won't even say his name. Mostly because I can't remember it.
Win. Yeah, his name is Go Fuck Yourself.
That's a great name.
Because when I see him, that's what I want to say.
It's like when I see perfect name for him.
It's like when I see a Cybertruck. I was driving a couple of weeks ago, and I saw a state trooper had pulled over an African American guy, and it was outside the car with the hand on his gun. So as I'm driving by, I'm like, "Go fuck yourself!" And then a Cybertruck drove by, and I'm like, "And you fuck yourself too."
I posted that meme on my Instagram story that's been going around of like, why did it was like it took however many years for male contraception to become part of the norm. But now that we have the Cybertruck, none of it matters or whatever.
Yeah.
Either
It was a good idea, but god damn it, did they cut corners. He's the opposite of John Hammond in Jurassic Park. I spared every expense. Don't wash your car.
All right, let's get into these lists. How do we want to do this? I can't remember how we usually do it. Do we do one list and then do the other?
I thought we'd jump back and forth after every like two.
Okay. If you can keep count for me,
I will. I'll write it down.
Then we can do it that way.
Okay.
We'll do our number 6 bad film and then our number 6 good film and then 5 bad, good,
okay.
down to 1. And
I wasn't sure how many we do
it's
for
classic
these
top
end
6.
of years.
It's classic top 6.
We do a 10 every now and then though.
I think our end of year list we do top 10.
Yeah. So I have 10 on these lists, but that's yeah.
We'll be
so
here,
I definitely
we'll
have 6.
We'll be here all day.
I know.
So let's start. Okay, so what we do is we do our favorite 6 films that we reviewed on the show last year, and we do the 6 that you need to steer clear from as much as possible.
Yes.
And Chris and I don't include, for the most part, films that appeared on our end of year list.
Right, because that would be boring.
Right, yeah, we know. I love The Substance. I loved In a Violent Nature. Like we know we don't need to talk about it again.
Yeah. People know
Chris doesn't
that
need
I've
to talk about
watched
Terrifier 3 anymore.
Yeah. Exactly.
But what we do need to talk about is stuff that was a little bit older. So this year on the show, we did have a chunk of stuff that was pre-recorded, and we did almost all Tubi originals through that run. So those films are in the mix here because I don't think either of us included any of them on our 2024 list.
I did not.
Most of them, there were some ones from 2024, I think there, but most of them were like in the last few years.
Yeah.
And as we found at the time, there are some hits and there are some really big misses on Tubi for their personal stuff, for their original stuff. Tubi is huge right now. They had the Super Bowl on Tubi, so
really,
yeah, they broadcast the whole thing on the Super. I mean, Tubi is owned by Fox. The one thing that we don't like about Tubi is that they're owned by Fox.
Okay.
So it's funny when you're watching something on there. We do watch a lot of stuff on there because regardless of what you say, they have the best like listings of cult films.
Yeah, well, Fox News and Fox are different in ideology. Because Fox will show Family Guy and Fox News will complain about Family Guy.
Right. But the problem is when you watch stuff on Tubi, you get commercials for like Fox News and stuff.
Yeah.
And
that's why I have an iPad with me when I watch Tubi.
Yes, me too. Well, I have my phone, so. All right, well, let's get into this, Chris. Let's start right into this with the bad films. We will do your number 6 worst film of the year.
Okay. All right. Now, I think because we're going back a full year and my memory this year hasn't been that great, I'm going to go, and if I'm wrong, if you remember that I actually did like something, remind me.
I can try because I'm actually I'm scrolling through the overall list here, and I'm like, there's films that I just don't remember on here.
Right. So my first one, I'm going to go with Story of a Junkie.
Okay.
Critically acclaimed documentary from director Lech Kowalski, L-E-C-H. Lech Kowalski. Following the life and times of a down-and-out heroin addict in 1980s New York. I believe at the time I thought this might have been the story of a junkie as written by a child.
Potentially.
Because I don't remember it being as intense as a junkie's story. It's no Train Spotting.
No. Oh, no. God, no. This was a suggestion, I believe, from somebody, too. I believe this was a Patreon pick.
I like that. I like that. Here's the tagline for the movie. It hits on you, it hustles, it gets off, it shoots, it overdoses, it risks, it deals, it bags, it loves, it feels, it loses, it wins, it survives.
What?
It's fucking Shai Hulud. Terrible, like bad acting. Really just.
Yeah. I
appreciate what they were trying to do. Heroin, drug use in general was definitely a huge problem then, and it is all the time. Some people just aren't equipped to tell that kind of story, and it stinks when you have to find out on the screen that you are not good at it.
Mm.
That's what.
Or when you finish the film and you sit down and you're like, oh, I'm not a very good filmmaker.
Yeah. But he directed a movie called East of Paradise, which has an 8.4 on IMDb, and something called Rock Soup from 1991 that has a 6.2. Oh, a documentary on a soup kitchen for the homeless in New York's Lower East Side. I wonder if he's just done documentary style stuff.
Maybe.
There's nothing for East of Paradise. It's just that.
I don't know anything about the guy, so
just the title. So yeah, it's not good. Watch a different junkie movie.
It's fair. Like the Basketball Diaries.
Yeah. Or even Reefer Madness is a better acted movie.
Yes, that's true. Okay, my number 6 worst of the year. I know that I hated this. And I can't remember the specifics, but I know that I hated it.
Okay.
And we just talked about how 2024 stuff wasn't going to be on the list, but I only meant that for the better films.
Right. That's what I figured. Yeah.
Because my number 6 is Creepypasta Death Net.
Oh, that was, if we had a 10, that was my number 9.
Yes, fair.
For sure.
Fair. This was a horribly executed attempt at doing a dark web murder supernatural shit in a anthology film. And as I'm talking about it now, it's coming back to me here a little bit.
Okay.
Its biggest thing was the people that made it didn't understand how technology works.
That is a huge problem all the time, yeah.
Yep. I just remember this. I don't really even remember the segments. I'm looking at the name Topsy Turvy Town, The Soul Snatcher, Silentium. Oh, this was
the one with the clown poster, right?
Yeah. This was the one that
that's the only way I remember.
It didn't have like a wraparound story.
Yeah.
Like it was just like 5 shorts put together or whatever.
Yeah.
It was bad, man. And I just remember being like, that's not how technology works.
We get a lot of that when we watch these.
We do. We watch a lot of POV horror too. So like,
yeah.
Never mind. We might talk about a couple of those later on. All right, cool. So those are number 6 worst of the year. So let's now do our number 6 favorite films of the year. And we'll start with you, Chris.
Okay, so in my number 6, I was looking up the worst movies to get them in the tabs up here. Let me just do this one here. Number 6 is it's one of those I guess it's an analog horror style because it's like the WNUF, like it's a mockumentary. That's the word I'm searching for as I'm trying to type. There were some things in the 80s and 90s that they did stuff like this with it. First, I hadn't heard in the beginning of the year, and I found some YouTube videos that were like, here's some shit you haven't seen. And I always go into those with like, yeah, fucking surprise me. And that one did, and I got like 6 good movies off of it, which is nice. And one of them was Special Bulletin, a TV movie from 1983.
Yeah, I enjoyed that.
A TV reporter and cameraman are taken hostage while covering a workers' strike, and then like you get the stupid terrorists inside the ship, and there's infighting and arguing with each other, and oops, and then a very disturbing aftermath of a I would imagine a small nuclear explosion.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I knew it was going to happen because it's been 40 years, so I've read about it since then. But the way it was done was kind of raw and disturbing. It made me remember my time back in the Cold War. You know, watching Rocky IV, drinking Coke.
Obviously.
So that was good. That was a surprise. It's very depressing. But David Rash is in it, as we all know, is Sledgehammer, the comedy cop.
Love it.
And a lot of other people, too, but I like him. And yeah, that was good. That was good. It had this not amateur feel, but live unedited feel, which is exactly what it is. They captured that. We don't know what's going on just yet.
Yeah. No, I was very, very surprised with that one.
Yep. That's what I got. I don't think I have much to say about that.
That's fair. All right. We'll do my number 6 favorites of the film. I'm going to throw one that's like really quite terrible in here, but I've seen it a few times now and it's fun and it's such a good piece of 1980s horror that's just like fucking stupid, but like, oh, okay, this is cool. So my number 6 favorite film that we reviewed this year, 1988's Death Spa.
Oh, yeah. I have that at my number 7 worst.
Really? Okay. So
yeah, because I couldn't, I was going to research it a little more. I'm like, I feel like I hate this, but I also could have hated one of the other 80s movies based around aerobics and murder. So I'm not sure.
Maybe it was, was it Aerobicide or Murdercide or whatever?
Yeah. Then there's Death Games. One of the Demons movies had a workout in it.
Yeah, Death Spa was fun though. It was ridiculous. I mean, it's ridiculous murders in a 1988 health spa. It's so 80s. The outfits, the women's hair, like the whole aesthetic, like it is so 1988, like all the way through.
I do like that.
Yeah, Ken Foray shows up, so you got some classics in there. We used clips of this actually in Survival of the Film Freaks, which was the part when the girl's jumping off the balcony.
Okay.
Yeah, but I mean, it's really just it's like these nasty like death scenes of like people just like ridiculously getting murdered, like the guy that's doing the presses, and then for somehow the machine, despite not being any type of like electrical connection or anything, pulls his arms back, and it's like
It always reminds me of the first time I recognized a movie is like fantasy and not trying to be realistic. It was when I first saw Maximum Overdrive and the electric knife flew up in the air to cut the guy's arm.
Yeah.
And after that, I'm like, oh, okay, so it's just a fantasy movie. Fine. That's cool.
Well, yeah.
But I remember being,
so many parts, like the Coke's being shot out of the Coke machine. Like
I thought that I did like that.
Oh, it's great.
That
but like, there's no way it could happen because the way the machine's built. Like,
yeah, it's gravity fed. Yeah.
But my number 6 favorite of the year is Death Spa. It's definitely one that like you just take it for what it is and have fun with it.
Yeah.
All right, Chris,
all right.
Your number 5 worst of the year.
My number 5 worst. I've gone back and forth now between 2 movies for this listing. Initially, I had Vicious Lips, but that's been cut from the list.
Oh, see, I liked Vicious Lips. It's not on my favorites, but I enjoyed it.
I actually made a list because I had so many. I made a list of they're bad, but you should watch them because they're good.
There's a difference for sure.
Yes. But my next one is going to be one that first is a sequel that never should have been made. Second is a sequel that didn't watch the first movie. And third calls itself a comedy and it's not.
Oh.
And I'm going to go with Cruel Intentions 2.
Oh, that was another one that was a Patreon pick.
Yeah, that was a turd of a movie. They there was incest, right? Is that what we were going with this one? Incest and all kinds of shit?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah. I'm not a fan of people manipulating other people in movies for no reason other than it's fun. I've worked with too many people like that. I worked with somebody who used to make somebody else cry because they could. All men, by the way.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah. Well, children, if you really want to get down to it. So I don't like any of the people. I don't like the privilege they come from and abuse. None of it was appealing to me at all. It was just shitty people being shitty for a paycheck. I didn't get any enjoyment out of it. It was not entertaining.
Understandable.
That's it.
Okay.
That's it for that one. Fuck that movie.
Okay. One thing I'm noticing as I'm like scrolling through the list and like looking at everything, we had a lot of films this year that were just like super forgettable.
Yes.
Like I'm looking at some of them and I'm like, I want to say that I hated that, but I'm not even sure because I don't remember enough about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But one film that I do remember a lot about, starring the one and only John Schneider, Bo Luke from the Dukes of Hazzard.
Oh.
And of course, Royal Dano was also in this. This was 1985's Cocaine Wars.
Oh, see, I couldn't call up enough information initially, so I'm like, I didn't hate it that much.
DEA undercover agent who works for the biggest cocaine exporter of the region refuses to perform a hit for a drug lord. The assignment becomes personal and decides to strike back before it's too late. Forgettable story.
Yeah.
And it just, the thing that I remember the most about it was it just never went anywhere.
Right.
Like it just it kept going, but nothing would happen. And then there'd be like a little like shootout, and then there'd be like nothing, and then like the movie was over.
Yeah. Yeah, because people try to make movies, and God bless them. Sometimes they get better, but sometimes you're just not good at it. You don't understand pacing or structure or any of that, and you just want to do the fun parts. Like in Robo War, let's shoot the jungle down 5 times.
Yeah, it's true.
They only did that once in Predator, but we're going to be 5 times better. It's all about missing the point of the message, right?
Yeah, and I remember, like, I think there was like a double cross in it or something, and like the main character's friend got killed or something in it, and like his whole thing was like coming to like avenge him or whatever, but like never really seemed to care.
Yeah. Keeping that level of interest and intensity in your actor toward their goal, that must be difficult. Especially, I'm assuming this movie took like 5 years and 12 different weekends to finish.
Or not. Or it took 3 days.
Yeah, there's that too.
And it's funny because Royal Dano's been in a lot of really good stuff. Like he was obviously the farmer in Killer Clowns from Outer Space, and he was in was it Outlaw Josie Wales, and I think another one of those like classic westerns. But so he's there, and John Schneider's not a bad actor. The Dukes of Hazzard, for what it was, that TV show from the 70s was, I mean, it was good, enjoyable, but this is just like they had the idea and then forgot to write the script, but I had already booked the time to film it.
Yeah, because somebody really liked Miami Vice, so I can do that.
Yeah. It was like a combination of Miami Vice and Commando. Commando might have been released after it. I don't know.
A little bit of, definitely some First Blood going on.
For sure. Okay. Now we're at number 5 for favorites.
Yes. Now I'm going to surprise you with this one because I don't think you're expecting it.
All right,
which is the definition of a surprise, actually.
I guess so, yeah.
I believe this one's Italian. If it's not, it feels Italian. What we have is a murder mystery where whoever wrote it, because I'm not going to look it up, really had a good sense on how to build suspicion on other characters and throw you off the trail and just introduce a whole bunch of people and everybody has a motive. That's the kind of thing I like. When everybody has a solid motive to be the murderer. And it's not just like, oh, well, they had the opportunity. Well, we all have the opportunity to murder people, especially like every day you get in a car, right? Mm-hmm. But when The killer is one of 13. You will figure it out, or not. The Killer is one of 13 is a decent mystery movie because it kept me guessing, and I'm gonna sound like an arrogant asshole here, but unless it's Doctor Who, I have a really good chance of figuring out what's going on. Doctor Who will create these mysteries and then be like, oh, it's the Flurbenbopper from Dorktown 9. And I'm like, I've never heard of that, so I don't feel bad about not being able to figure that out. But this, when they give you all the information and stuff, and I'm constantly being misdirected and I don't know who to believe, I'm enjoying it. And that's what that did for me.
Yeah, it was a good murder mystery.
Goofy characters that clashed and got along in different ways. It was just...
Did you say it's Italian? It's Spanish.
Oh, okay.
Because Paul Naschy was in it.
Oh, shit, that's right, because we were watching it, and I had told them, I'm like, I think this is Italian because it's a murder mystery from like the 60s or 70s. And we were watching it. I remember now. I remember during the review, I said, no, it's not Italian, because I'm watching it, and I'm like, wow, I understand a lot more Italian than I thought I did. I'm like, because it's Spanish. So yes, that's what it was. It was Spanish. It's a Spanish giallo homage. How about that?
No, yeah, absolutely.
I do recommend that one highly. That was fun.
It was good.
I don't have a lot of fun with them all the time because like you know who the killer is or it's no one you have any idea about. It's either one in any of the Italian stuff. But here it was like, okay, it's definitely one of these people. So no twin sisters showing up this time.
All right. My number 5 favorite of the year, 1984, Larry Cohen written and directed, starring Eric Bogosian, special effects.
Yeah, I toyed with that one. Yep.
Yeah. Director makes a movie based on a murder that he committed and it all works.
Interesting idea.
For sure. Not perfect, but Larry Cohen is also just a guy that, you know, he made, I mean, some of it, like It's Alive, God Told Me To, Phone Booth. Like, I mean, he was involved with a lot of really good stuff. I mean, as a writer and as a director, stuff.
Wait, the horror movie?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He wrote it.
I don't know how many movies are named and stuff. So,
well, I mean, Cohen is very much he's an OTC mainstay. We've covered of his stuff. I mean, the stuff we covered special effects. Obviously, we covered Q the Winged Serpent.
I have to say, the stuff is way more of a satire than I remembered it being, and that was fun.
Yeah, and he also did some of my favorite blaxploitation films: Black Caesar, Hell Up in Harlem.
Right, Hell Up in Harlem was good.
It was.
I like that one.
It was. But special effects is great. It's a really interesting idea where a director's making a movie played by Eric Bogosian, but he doesn't have like the gumption or whatever to do it, so he actually starts to perform murders and crimes and stuff to put into the film. And it's a really interesting idea, and it had Zoe Lund in it, who too also she was in Bad Lieutenant and Miss 45, so she is another one that this has got a good cast. It's a good cast. It's strong writing. Cohen's always strong with the writing. And it's enjoyable. And, there's some twists and turns on terms of like, is he really doing it? Is there somebody else involved? All in all, it's a very solid film.
Yeah.
Yeah, very solid film. Special effects. Okay.
Not bad at all.
Number 4, worst, Chris.
Number 4, worst. A lot of times my enjoyment of a movie is how comfortable they make me or uncomfortable. I am absolutely fine being taken out of my comfort zone. The resolution to the whole story has to be satisfying, though. And I'm all for a down ending, but if I don't like what your characters are doing, who they are as people, the time frame it's set in, and all the betrayal that goes on between these 3 people, I'm not going to like your movie called Doom Generation.
Oh,
at all.
That Greg Araki stuff.
That
was another one that was a Patreon pick.
It looked really good. It was acted really well. I fucking hate it because I hate those people.
Mm.
Not the actors, the characters. I hated everybody in that movie, and that's really difficult for me to get over. So, it was a bunch of dumb kids with a dumber kid with them. and a manipulative asshole. And that's not why I watch movies.
Yeah. Iraqi stuff is so bleak. It's just
that's a
part
really
of those
good
trilogy
word.
of films that is it Happiness? No, not Happiness. Happiness?
I don't know.
I can't remember, but he made like this run of just really nihilistic 90s movies that are just like soul crushing.
Yeah. Yeah, not fun to go back to.
No.
At all. Love the cover. It's very iconic cover art, but no. Not going back to it.
So, since your number 4 is the Doom generation, I'm going to switch my list up here, and I'm going to put 1987's Doom Asylum on my list here. Terrible.
I have Doom Asylum as my number 2 on the so good it's bad list that I made for myself, because it is. It's super funny, but awful. I agree.
Real bad. It's only real redeeming qualities is you got Patty Mullen, who was Frankenhooker. She was in it. And you've got what's her name? Kristen Davis that ended up in Sex and the City. And that's
yeah.
This movie is so filled out with padding of just shots of the doctor roaming the halls of the dilapidated asylum, which we don't know how he got there. We don't know why he's there. There's no explanation of anything. Like his, girlfriend or whatever gets killed in an accident at the beginning, and he just loses his mind and then just roams this like random dilapidated hospital. And then you have like a girl punk band that practices there but never sees the guy. And then the group that shows up are the kids. It's just
this is getting better with every sentence you say.
Better?
Yeah, in a terrible way. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Good for you then.
This one, I don't know. I think it might have been the main punk girl's laugh at the end of every sentence that got me. She was ridiculous, so over the top. Like she belonged in a Canon. Did Canon put this out? Because it definitely feels like that cyborg era of movie making.
Yeah.
Oh,
we also probably need to mention that Patty Mullen she also ended up being the was it Playboy or no? She was Penthouse's Pet of the Year in 1987. So same year that this came out, she was the Pet of the Year. And then she did Frankenhooker a couple years later.
Oh, I never knew that. Okay. I don't know much about her.
I mean, outside of Frankenhooker, there's really not much.
I really liked her acting job in that.
Oh, she was great.
She was quirky.
Yeah.
The movie was fine.
Yeah, it's fine.
I don't mind it. I watch it like every few years.
So my number 4 is Doom Asylum.
All right.
So now number 3, favorites.
What did I do wrong on my list here?
I can't imagine.
So I'm crossing them off as we do them, right?
Yep.
So I just did a really shitty one. So 6. No, so what did we start with? We started with the worst, right?
Started with worst. So now
I did Story of a Junkie. So now we're on number 4, favorite.
Correct.
Got it. I just want to make sure I had this all lined up here. This is another one of those ultra mega Halloween.
No, we're at 3 favorites.
No, because I didn't cross out my number 4.
Okay, you're right. I'm sorry.
Okay. I am, if you can see here,
This is why I said one of us needs to pay attention here.
I am. Look, see? There's my number 4. It says Without Warning TV. So that's my number 4. It's a sci-fi, not really found footage, analog, whatever, about what could possibly be a low key or the start of an alien invasion.
Mm-hmm.
They nailed what they wanted to tell with the aliens, with the meteors. They did a great job setting up that it's not natural because all the meteors hit along the same parallel line on the map. So impossible. 2, maybe 3, no. That 2 can be in a line no matter where they hit, you know, because there's 2. And then just their plan, the way they did it, the military response, and the absolute we just fucked up ending that was normally not a fan, like Doom Generation, not a fan of Bleak, but this built to it, and I think it earned it, and it did a really good job. It felt a little off because it's over the course of a day or two instead of just like with Special Bullet, and it's just those few hours.
Yeah.
Cut down. So there is a little bit of a time jump, but if you watch the version, I think it's on YouTube with commercials, that actually acts as a pretty good time balancer for the whole thing.
Yeah, I agree.
So, and this was all basically just somebody telling you what's going on, and then you see a quick shot through a camera, and they tell a story basically through, and it's going to sound stupid, but hold on, through storytelling instead of story showing. There we go. That's what I wanted to say. Just, I don't know. It could have been really like out there and have special effects all over the place and get goofy, but it really felt kind of grounded until, you have to have the climax of the film. So good job on being reserved and pulling it out when it's the right time.
For sure. I was impressed with that because that was one that you found that we had never really heard of. So
yeah.
I'm finding as I'm looking at my list here and I'm going through things and I'm just kind of like unsure of myself in terms of like looking at a thing and I'm like, I think that I really liked that.
Yeah.
But I'm not entirely sure. And we definitely have this very stark divide with some really good films. And just like, well, yeah, obviously that's going to be at the top of the list. But like at the same time, I'm like, that seems like not fun to pick it because.
Yeah. That's the problem I have. Like, do people want to hear what, like, this may pull the curtain back too far, but do people want to hear what our actual favorite movies we watched for the whole year were? Because the two lists are going to pretty much be the same.
For the most part,
For like, if we've covered anything from this year, it stands a good chance to be part of that. And yeah, that wouldn't be fun.
Exactly.
So, yeah. That's why we say the favorite movies we covered on the show. And favorite movies we watch is it. Since we have that standing 10-year thing, and we break it every now and then, which is fine.
More often than not.
You have to. I think it's okay to separate them out because we do talk about how we don't normally do this, but we wanted to watch it.
Right, and I think at the end too, we can then make mention of specific films that we might have not included that would obviously be on the list. All right. Anyway, so now we're at my number 4 favorite.
Right.
All right. This is one that we had watched another film that had a very similar storyline to it. And it was a newer film. And we watched it, I think, last year. And I can't remember the name of it offhand. I could look it up, but it's not that important. And this was from 1974. 1974, Messiah of Evil.
Oh, yeah. I couldn't remember enough about that one.
Yeah, Mariana Hill, Anitra Ford's in it, and Royal Dano actually shows up too.
Yeah.
This was directed by Willard Hook and somebody else. This was a very kind of like simple murder mystery, not murder mystery, but like mystery where a woman, her father's an artist and he goes missing, and she travels to the seaside town to try to find out what happened. And then there's all this kind of weird, kind of cult zombie type stuff going on with this connection with some sort of pseudo cult religious figure that comes from the sea, and just a really interesting take on the haunted town horror film.
Yeah. Okay.
I thought it was very solid. It had a very good tension and feel, and the score worked really well for what they were doing. And having Mariana Hill as your lead in it too. She was obviously in The Godfather and High Plains Drifter. I think it was either High Plains Drifter or Outlaw Josie Wales. One of those two. I don't remember which one it was. I could look it up too, but I think she was also in I think The Godfather 2.
That makes sense. Yeah.
She was like the wife of one of the Corleones, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
It's been a long time since I've seen the Godfather films, and I'm not planning on revisiting them anytime soon. So, but it's just a solid little like supernatural maybe horror movie.
Right. Yeah.
Like, and they do a really good job of keeping the mystery. And then even at the end, although it ends up, if I'm remembering correctly, it ends up being a satisfying ending, but it still leaves some questions.
Yeah.
Which is a really tough thing to do. So, I mean, how many times do we review a film and I'm like, this was great until the end of it?
Yeah. A lot of people, all over the world, the endings aren't their favorite thing.
Yeah. So, Messiah of Evil is my number 4 favorite, which now brings us to our number 3 worst of the year.
Yeah. And I don't do this very often, but I have to pee.
Okay.
Give me a second.
All right, I'll plug the
can't
Patreon.
Wait anymore.
I'll plug the Patreon, which I haven't been plugging lately. So if you're a member of the Patreon, we're going to start in the next couple of weeks with our Patreon listener picks. I know Ollie has sent some in already, so we'll get to his. If you have picks that you'd like for us to cover, you can email them to us at outsidethecinema@gmail.com, or just go on to Patreon and send us a message through there. Anybody that's a Patreon member can make the suggestions. We will try to get through as many as we can. So if you want to join and you're a listener and you're not a member, just go to patreon.com/outsidethecinema and you can join up there anywhere from $1 to whatever you want to spend. Most of the people that we have do a $5 a month. You can pay for the entire year up front, or you can pay monthly, however you want to do it. If you pay for multiple months up front, you get a discount. I think you get a 16% discount if you pay for the year, and then the discount comes down based on how long you sign up for. So that's the way to support the show. That's the way to keep the show alive. If you enjoy independent podcasting, that is the best way to help us out. All of that money that's generated goes directly back into the show, paying for different hosting fees and all of that stuff. And we want you guys to be involved too. So feel free to send suggestions. If you ever have a specific segment you'd like us to do, if you'd like us to do a top 6 list, that we haven't done regular top 6 lists in a really long time. But if you ever want to send us one, you can send us one there. And if you're a member, we'll record it as an extra. We try to do extra Patreon content, but it's just really tough with the timing.
Yeah.
So, but if there's something specific that you want, let us know and we can make it happen.
Oh yeah.
So
I'm back.
all right, thanks for coming. Number 3 worst midway through the list here.
Yeah. Okay. So this one just pissed me off because the main character we're supposed to follow and watch and was just a fucking arrogant asshole. And it's based off a real dude from what I remember.
Okay.
Chameleon Street.
Okay, yeah.
The movie about the con man, thief, liar, presidential candidate. I don't know what the fuck is.
Yep. You know what I'm finding really funny, Chris, is most of your picks for worst have come from Patreon suggestions.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
This is a Patreon suggestion too.
But you know what? I'm glad I watched it. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying the guy they made the movie off of is a fucking dick.
Mm-hmm.
And he's arrogant and he thinks he's better and smarter than everybody. And obviously, if we're making a movie about what kind of criminal you are, you're not that smart. So this one bothered me. The plans just didn't make sense. I don't know. It seemed very convoluted just to be mixed up. There's a lot of stuff that happened that didn't need to happen either. I remember a couple scenes in restaurants, and after they're over, I'm like, what did we learn from that?
Yeah.
Nothing. It's just people complaining about other stuff, and it's a little dark. It's a little poorly shot. It's very amateurish looking. The story of the person is interesting. They just didn't do that for the audience. They didn't make it interesting for me.
Yeah, I remember I didn't hate this as much as you did. But it's definitely
I hate him.
Yeah, no, and it's definitely a film that will affect different people different ways. I appreciated the piece of work it was, but yeah, the guy that's the main character in it, that and the guy he was based on, but the guy that I forget the guy's name that was in it, but he did a really good job, which was kind of what saved it for me. I'm like, yeah, this is all like kind of despicable stuff, but this guy is fucking killing it in the role.
That's true. Yeah. I can't hold it against an actor for doing a really good job with a shitty character.
Mm-hmm.
So good job.
All right. I feel like I'm kind of double dipping here.
Okay.
Crap, where'd it go? Because my number 6 was kind of like, I don't think these were related. They just had similar titles. But so I'm going to go with number 3. I'm going to go with The Deep Web Murder Show.
Yeah, you know what? Oh, wait, no, that's not the one I had on here. I had in another part of my list in the 7th or whatever, I had Clickbait Unfollowed.
Oh, yeah.
That was fun. But go ahead with yours.
Yeah, I'm ready. So Deep Web Murder Show 2023, directed by Dan Zachary. Dan Zachary also directed American Conjuring.
Nothing yet.
American Conjuring. He did he's an actor though too, so he's been in some stuff. He was in Deadpool 2.
Oh.
He was in Legends of Tomorrow. But either way, he wrote and directed The Deep Web Murder Show. And now we've hit the point where podcasting is like a thing in shows and movies, and
a trope.
A trope,
right?
yes.
Is that what we're going for? Yeah.
Because any of you guys that have done a podcast understand, like, unless you're a celebrity, you're not really going to get any type of, gain any ground anywhere.
Yeah.
This film is based here. A podcaster's search for clues into his sister's death lands him on the deep web, where he uncovers the Murder Show, a site where the highest crypto bidder selects the victim who will be killed. If you are watching them, they are watching you. I feel like we've seen a number of movies that do exactly what this movie does, and this movie just does it really poorly because it's another one again where the people involved in making it didn't feel like they had a true understanding of the technology. Whether it be podcasting or whether it be crypto or how you stream or all of these different things, where it's just like, I feel like all these movies are just like, oh yeah, you could put a show on the dark web that's just you're murdering people. Like,
why not?
You can't know. You can't.
Oh, we can't? I got work to do after we're done with the show then.
And you've already done too much.
I got to take it all down. That's the problem.
And it's another thing where it's just like these people are able to infiltrate these guys' lives and I don't know, follow their phone and then all of these just things. And it just is such an unsatisfying, bleak movie that just plods its way through with uninteresting characters, poorly written dialogue, and just things where people make, again, bad decisions that are just nobody would do that.
Right.
No human would do
problem.
what this guy just, and I don't remember exactly. I just remember that being the thing that drove me nuts. Was just so many movies you've seen, just you're making decisions that don't make any sense. And that's such a thing in so many modern horror films that it just ruins it, because the thing is, the idea, okay, I'm on board with the idea. I've seen this is almost exactly the same story done on that really shitty Eli Roth produced Urban Legends series they did a couple years ago.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to say Girl House.
No, Girl House wasn't this year, was it?
No.
It was last year.
I'm just waiting for that to get brought up. That or, oh, shit, what was the one with the pie fight?
Oh, Sledgehammer?
Boarding House?
Boarding House, yeah. Boarding House. Oh, she made all those pies. But yeah, Deep Web Murder Show is just there's an episode of Urban Legends, or Urban Legend, or whatever the name of that series is. It's on Max, HBO Max. You can watch. There's a few of the episodes that are pretty good. Most of them are bad, but there's one where it's it's a staged murder show, and then somebody wants to try to get the money, and so somebody kidnaps somebody, and then it all becomes real, and it's just done better. It's just done better than this, and it only runs 42 minutes. This is just bad. This is just such it's bad enough that it's not forgettable because of how bad it is.
Yeah. Yeah, it may actually be better to be forgettable, because then somebody might actually give you a second chance.
Yeah, there's the fucking trope of the fucking hacker guy in this movie that's trying to jumping from server to server to find where they're broadcasting from, and he's like, I'm in the system, and I got the address, and then the people find him and kill him. And it's like, okay, well, he couldn't have done any of the stuff that he just did. And third of all, how did they find the guy? He's supposed to be the greatest hacker in the world, and like, just find the guy.
Yeah.
Ugh. Deep Web Murder Show, terrible. Terrible. Number 3 favorite.
All right, my number 3 favorite I've always wanted to watch since I saw one photo of it in a like history of horror movies or something like that when I was little. And it's a black and white shot of a man strapped down on a hospital gurney with like a rubber gag in his mouth, and you could tell he's flipping out. And the caption said Rock Hudson starting in seconds, and I'm like, I need to know what that's about. Yeah, and what it's about is this douchebag is not happy with his life, so he tries a second one. It's basically like a volunteer witness relocation program. They change your face, your voice. There was one line about the voice that I'm like, okay, good, because he's this schlubby Death of a Salesman looking dude, and now he's Rock Hudson.
Yeah,
so
right. Yeah,
he's gonna sound different, and that's to me the sign of a conscientious good writer, because they're like, okay, well, what would change in a person? Well, different body they would walk different, they'd sit different, but the way you talk would sound the same, but how you sound would be different, because your brain should still work the same way.
Yeah.
And it was all pretty good, and I really liked the message of it, which, spoiler alert, it's going to be no matter how much you think you like something, you are going to get bored of it. And that's what it is. He has his life with the beach crowd, art, whatever stuff going on, and everybody likes him, but he's not adjusting very well. And then he sort of does, and he adjusts too well. And then he's like, nah, I don't want to do this anymore. And it's just it doesn't end well. And the movie really can be summed up in be happy with what you have.
Yeah.
Or the grass is always greener. It's a huge jealousy allegory, which you don't really see coming, because it's not presented that way. It's presented as a good thing, as a, you can do the things you've always wanted to do. It's, deal with the devil kind of shit.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's black and white, so it adds to that bleak. We're just going to keep using that word, I guess. That feeling that it gives you is a little bit isolating, because we're in the time of color movies and shit like that. So it sits outside of what we're used to, and it was deeper than I thought it was going to be, and that's always a nice surprise.
Yeah. This was going to be on my list, and I kind of pulled it off because I knew you would have it on your list. Just
nice.
So we could have more things. But this was a very, very good film. It's got this like Twilight Zone feel to it that is really hard to replicate. So when you see it actually work, like, and I don't know if they were trying to, because what year was that? 50?
I thought 66. It was like 62. Oh, okay.
66.
All right.
So, but it's got, it feels like a really good episode, like a long episode of the Twilight Zone, or the Outer Limits or something like that.
Yeah. But not an artificially extended, let's make this into a movie kind of thing.
Right.
There was enough character-driven story to fill the whole thing, which was good. That
for sure. Yeah, no, very, very good. I enjoyed the shit out of that. Okay. I'm having a hard time here paring this down now. So my number 3 favorite of the year is gonna kind of be a layup, I think, and it is one of the best reviewed films that we've done, and I think this was I think you picked us to cover this for some reason.
Okay.
And it's 2011's We Need to Talk About Kevin.
Oh yeah, I don't know if that was me.
I don't remember. It had Tilda Swinton, John C. Reilly, Ezra Miller, Jasper Newell, and it is a artful retelling of a troubled youth and goes in and basically performs a school shooting. And it's a breakdown of Tilda Swinton and how she mothered this child and how John C. Reilly was a father and, where things went wrong and how to deal with things in the aftermath. It is masterfully done. It is incredibly well written, directed and written by Lynn Ramsey, who also did You Were Never Really Here, which was the Joaquin Phoenix film, which is also very, very good.
Yeah.
But yeah, We Need to Talk About Kevin was a very depressing film and very bleak. And it kind of just like tells the story of like, maybe there's nothing you can do. Maybe some people aren't able to be helped.
Counterpoint.
Yes.
They don't fucking do anything to help the kid.
Right.
The movie's called We Need to or We Should. We need to talk about Kevin. They don't fucking talk about Kevin at all. Not in any substantial, helpful way. It's Tilda and fucking Dewey Cox are yelling at each other. They're just arguing the whole time. And I feel the opposite as you do. It's really well made, but they didn't try to help him at all, it felt. It was more of their own failings thrown in each other's face. I can see why you
would say that. But I mean, it works. It's just, it's utterly depressing. It's utterly bleak. But hey, Bart, could you keep it down? It's utterly bleak and utterly depressing, but it's very masterfully done. And Tilda Swinton, she was in a couple films we reviewed this year, which we may or may not be talking about the other one momentarily. It's excellent. It's really fucking good. It's really fucking good. And despite how sad and how bleak it is, it deserves your time and deserves to be watched. Okay.
Yeah.
Number 2, worst.
Yeah, I'm just going to make this quick. Blink Twice.
Wow. Okay.
That's it.
I thought it was all right.
Yeah, no, the movie was, the plot of the movie is based on a rich man raping women. And that is boring as fuck. And that's the polite way for me to say, why the fuck are we still having movies made like this? Yes, it happens. But the way they went about the revenge aspect of it was idiotic. And usually when you have somebody that's wronged, you want to make sure that they get justice, but they get it in a good, satisfying way. And I don't felt like this happened here. The resolution to it felt more like fantasy fulfillment. And I don't want to ruin this for people that haven't seen it, so I'm not going to.
Yeah, because it is a 2024 release.
I mean, I did say it's all based around rape, but I think that is something that people should know going in or will figure out in the first half hour. Channing Tatum taking a bad guy role, good. I like him. I don't know why. He's the kind of actor I shouldn't like because
he was in Magic Mike.
No, I don't know why. It's just some actors that are like, they're not for me.
I like Channing Tatum. I think he's good.
Yeah. I totally forgot where I was going with this. No, he was great as Gambit, I thought. I want to see him again. But here, it didn't feel like he could grasp onto anything that he could use. And he just felt like he was walking through the scenes. Kind of like how he was in, was it This Is the End?
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, they're like, okay, you're going to be, you're going to be a dominator or dominatrix. What is it called when it's a dude? Oh, abusive husband.
Yes.
Or cop. No, but they're like, it almost sort of felt like, just be yourself. He's a rich dude who is out of touch with everybody. I don't know if he is. I don't want to, he seems like he could be okay, but I don't think this kind of story needed to be told.
This was Zoe Kravitz's debut, right?
Which is very disappointing. Oh shit, I forgot the actual worst movie I watched all year. I just remembered it. Anyway, go ahead.
That's not true. I know what your number 1 is, so I know that that's not true. You didn't
Yeah, but
forget it.
you know, I forgot one on this list, and I just forgot what it was. Wait, what? Nope.
Fair enough.
I'll remember in a second, and I guess it'll be an honorable mention because it should have probably been number 2. But go ahead. So I had that one.
That was your
twice.
number 2 worst. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with my number 2 being See, now there's I got 3 or 4 here that I'm like, oh, any of these could fall into these spots. Fuck it. Number 2, we did it last week, Hollywood Zap.
Oh, okay. All right. I considered that one, but I'm like,
just listen to our review from last week's show. It's just a poorly written, poorly planned out, annoying characters, annoying soundtrack. The movie has got multiple storylines that they just forget about midway through the film. And there's just weird shit in the main character. What the fuck was his name?
I don't remember.
Downer, Tucker Downs.
Right.
He's supposed to be a dude in his mid-20s, but he acts like he's a fucking child.
Right, because he's supposed to be from the Midwest kind of country,
from the South,
farm boy.
From the South. And he's just I'm just here looking for my daddy. Yeah. Dude, you're 20-something years old. Don't talk like that.
Yep.
And the whole idea is fish out of water, dumped into Hollywood. And then also the idea that there's the guy that's plays Nash, that's Ben Franklin, who basically thinks Ben Frank, who thinks he's George Carlin. He's just not as funny. And by not as funny, I mean not funny at all. His whole thing, he's where he hustles people for video games and arcade. It's just fucking dumb, and it just doesn't make sense. And
it might have been okay when in 83 or 82 when Zaxxon was new, but it doesn't who am I gonna hustle people at fucking Marvel Rivals?
Right. Yeah.
It's not as helpful.
It's just fucking just bad. And the more I've thought about it since we reviewed it last week, the more I've hated it. So either way. Okay. Now we're at number 2 favorites.
Number 2 favorite.
Number 2 favorite.
Boom. Okay. I'm going to go with one that I didn't think would be on my favorite list, but thinking back on it, I think before we reviewed this, I must have watched it 2.5 times, maybe, just rewatching certain parts and going over stuff. It's an underdog story of just this group of nobody kids that piss off a guy in a car who's low on money, and they are on the titular skateboard.
Oh yeah, this was fun. I didn't include it in my list, but this was fun.
Yeah, skateboard was it felt like a bunch of people that are hey, my buddies can all skate. I know how to make a movie. Why don't we do that? And then they just had fun. It reminded me a lot of the old Powell Peralta, Bones Brigade videos. With story thrown in, because it's this one guy has this problem doing that, the girls over here, there's people that, costumes, not costumes, uniforms or whatever. There's enough going on that makes you believe that the manager is actually really trying, because he is, if I remember right, his legs or his life depends on it somehow. He owes money.
But the thing that worked with him was, because one of the things, not to interrupt you, but but I'm going to interrupt you. He's old. He's an older gentleman, in his probably. Well, actually, he was probably in his 30s or whatever. But he looked like he was 50s or older.
Yeah, he looks like a 55-year-old dude.
Yeah, because he's that classic dude from the 70s that's very bald and has a very specific look. And he just takes these kids, never talks to their families and just takes them off on this skateboarding tour. But nothing about it seems he doesn't put the moves on any of the girls, or it all seems so innocent.
Yes, this was as close to a family movie as it could get on this show. I mean, there's a little bit of conflict, but there's really no sex or nudity or anything terrible. And it is about the skating. They showcase the skating, and it's a bunch of really old 70s tricks, the ollie hadn't even been invented at that point. And it's fun to watch not skateboarding, we should just call it sidewalk surfing. They have a couple of ramps. They do handstands and stuff. And it's it feels like going to the circus in 1910. You know?
Yeah.
Like,
I know exactly
like
what you're saying.
everybody is like super stoked about this, and they want everybody to do well, and it's just they're here to have fun, and nobody's a real asshole except the other team, you know, from Sweden. No, it's not the Mighty Ducks. Anyway, so yeah, that was fun. And I wasn't skating at that time. I started in like the early 80s. But it's nice. It's like taking an art history class watching this movie. I don't know. It's just lighthearted. It's definitely different than what we normally watch.
Yeah, it's funny because the top of your list is movies that made you feel good, and mine is like all like soul crushing.
I know, right?
Because my number 2 favorite film of the year, and hopefully this doesn't step on your number 1, and I'm not sure because I'm not sure what your number 1 is, and it may, and I apologize if it does.
I don't think it will.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we covered this in the same episode as we need to talk about Kevin.
Okay.
Which was the first episode of the year. And I remember us saying that we had set the bar very high to start the season. And I can say that, yeah, we did, because my number 2 favorite film that we reviewed last year was 2012's Byzantium.
Yes.
Starring Saoirse Ronan, Gemma Atherton, Sam Riley, and Caleb Jones. Really, really interesting take on essentially the vampire story that is told in a very different way. Saoirse Ronan obviously came into our lives through Lovely Bones was really, I think, the first thing that most people... She'd been in stuff before that, but that was the thing like that put her on the map. And she's been in a bunch of good stuff like Atonement and Hannah and stuff since
yeah, she's really good. Yeah.
She's excellent. She's excellent. And this is the story of 2 sisters, Eleanor and Clara, and they are... I mean, they're for all intents and purposes, they're vampires. But it's not your standard fangs and Euro trash. Like the way they're turned and like is just a very different. And I don't want to give anything away. I mean, I know this movie's old, but like, I feel like this might be one that a lot of people might have missed. And it just tells the story through the ages and stuff of these 2 beings that essentially have eternal life. And all of the issues that come with that you might not think about. And the movie I was thinking of when I had said that Tilda Swinton was going to be on the list again, I forgot we actually covered it last year.
Only Lovers Left Alive.
Only Lovers Left Alive. Which I'm pretty sure was on my top of my list last year. But I don't know. I was confusing that and Byzantium for some reason in my head. But Byzantium is
that makes sense.
Excellent film. A little slow, a little dark, a little dreary.
Yeah, it's moody.
But it sets such a good tone, and the performances by the 2 leads, Saoirse and Gemma Atherton. Are just excellent, and Sam Riley does a really good job too. And it's just if you're looking for something that's a different type of vampire film, and obviously vampire films have come back into vogue this year because of Nosferatu, but this is something different. And it's in that list of like vampire movies that you need to see, like Let the Right One In. Only Lovers Left Alive is on that list. Just very good. It really top to bottom, excellent film. Yep. All right. Hey, we're at number 1 for worst film we reviewed last year. I know what yours is already, so you don't really need to.
Because I showed you the picture I drew of it.
I knew that's what it was going to be regardless.
Yeah.
Because of what you said in your review, and I won't give that away. I'll let you mention that.
Yeah. I did actually just straight up say, this is it. But I've been working on this word here, and I want to hold it up for the camera so you can see the movie that I left off my list that I forgot that would be number 2.
I can't really see it.
Oh, hold on. Maybe if I hold it back here. No. Closer? It's the stupid light.
And now I can't hear what you're saying either.
Can you read that?
No, I can't read
that at all. It says Trap. The fucking movie Trap. What a piece of shit that was.
Oh my God, yeah.
Dumbest fucking criminal, dumbest police, dumbest everybody except the wife, I guess. But that was stupid too. It was what I expect from the Shyamalan family now.
Yeah, I think I forgot to add that to the list.
Yeah, I didn't see it.
As I'm scrolling through it, I don't see it here.
That's okay. That's okay.
I agree with you. That's the worst movie I saw last year, and one of the worst
Yes.
I've ever seen.
But one of the worst movies I've ever seen that actually isn't. It's more of like a Hallmark TV special around Halloween, and it has the title of one of my favorite songs ever in it. It's Dead Hot. I have to say the whole thing. Season of the Witch.
Yeah, man, really fucking bad.
Now I know you picked that because you liked her. What's her name?
Vanessa Hudgens.
That's it. I get her and Selena Gomez when I'm not looking at their pictures confused.
That's fair. Well, I picked it because I like her for the most part.
Yep.
Because she's
and I
some
figured
really
where it
interesting
was
stuff.
shot, right?
Yeah, that, and because it was a documentary of these girls that are like trying to find a way to be witches and going to Salem. So like, and they filmed it in like it's very recognizable for us living here because it's all in and around Salem.
Right. Yeah.
This movie made me hate her though.
This movie made me almost hate fucking documentaries because they didn't know what they were doing. This is not a documentary.
This is a
it started off maybe like that, but it ended with two people just mugging it up for the camera, doing whatever the fuck they want. Because they go from witches to like all kinds of monsters and shit. And it's
they like went like ghost hunting. Like,
yeah. That movie hurt me in ways I don't want to talk about. It made me almost give up on movies forever. I definitely have an aversion to documentaries for a little while. I'll tell you that.
That's fair.
But I mean, it is a good reminder to be a good watcher of movies. Watch stuff. If it's bad, turn it off. I don't have that option sometimes, but actually I did with one movie. I forget what that was.
Wasn't it Blink Twice?
No, because that part happened so far into it. I'm like, well, shit, there's 20 minutes left. I got to see how the rest of it goes now.
There was definitely something that like opened up with like a really like random rape scene that I think you tapped out on. I can't remember what it was though.
I don't either, and I'm kind of happy I can't.
Well, but this was the movie to make it memorable.
I know, right? This Dead Hot Season of the Witch was it's the classic definition of a vanity project. They wanted to do something. These two wanted to go somewhere on vacation and do something they hadn't done, so they got a movie studio to pay for it. And if you can, good for you. We call that pulling a Sandler.
Yeah.
Anyway, don't watch that movie. And if you do, tell me that you did and how bad it was. I don't want to talk about it anymore.
That's fair. All right. My number one worst movie of the year probably would have been Dead Hot, but I knew Chris hated it so much that I'm like, all right, I'll leave it off my list. But it is one of the worst movies I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And it's most infuriating too.
Yeah.
But my number
rare.
one.
It's rare that I say to somebody, hey, come here, look how stupid this is.
Didn't we make Scott watch it too?
Probably.
Like, this is the worst thing I've ever seen, Scott. You got to watch it.
And
all
Joe.
Right, my actual number one is probably far from the actual worst film on the list and out of the stuff we've done. The reason why I'm putting it at the top of the list is because it is so mediocre and just so like uninspired, and I don't necessarily want to say forgettable because I do remember a lot about it because I was so annoyed by how it played itself out.
Okay.
And it's a 2024 release. And it is a Tubi original.
Okay.
Same as yours, which was a Tubi original.
Right.
The Sin Turn.
Oh, all right.
The Hallmark Channel of horror movies.
Before you get into that, I want to say that on my so bad it's good list, I started this list because of that movie. There is something about this Sin Turn that is so bad and so amateurish, but so fucking engaging. I had to see what happened.
See, I didn't find the Sin Turn to be like that. Like,
I don't know why. Maybe I just like the actress. like she seemed genuine or something. I don't know.
But I mean, out of the originals, like I feel like No Filter was better than that. Deadly Invitations was better than that.
They were.
But the Sin Turn is just so mediocre in every way.
Yeah.
And it's just like, why did you even make this?
It's a toast sandwich.
It is. And they're trying to tell this like anti-religion story, but like not really.
Yeah.
And it's just, you have a woman who's basically her mother has disappeared and she's trying to figure out what happened. And she thinks it had something to do with this mega church that she was part of. And so she gets herself involved. And the thing too is like, she's like the angry punk rock girl. And you know how you know that? Because she had a nose ring and a green stripe in her hair.
Yeah.
That's how you know she was a bad girl.
That'll do it. Yeah.
That'll do it. And you find out, of course, the pastor is like sexually molesting people and like, but there's this whole like cover up and it's just so Hallmark Channel thriller that like, it's not even like, there's nothing smart. There's nothing smart or interesting at all about it. And in terms of like, is it the worst made film this year? No, that was obviously Maniac or Maniac Killer? Was that? That's probably the worst made movie we saw this year. Actually, Driving Massacre was pretty bad too.
I had that as my I had that on the list of stuff that I think I liked. I think it's a bad good kind of thing on that one for me.
No, actually, no. I'm looking at the list. The worst made movie we watched this year was definitely Raiders of the Living Dead.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But getting back to the Sin Turn, it's just so pedestrian. That's the best word for it, pedestrian. It's just like they hired a guy that well, actually, let's look at the director. I feel like the director, Julie Herlocker, who's also worked on episodes of Grimm in Las Vegas. And that's really it. Something called The Close Call. So not a whole heck of a lot. I was expecting it to, because I remember some of those Tubi films we watched were like people that like basically just made Hallmark films.
Yeah.
So it's kind of interesting that she didn't. But the Sin Turn is just like, I can see why you're like, it's so bad it's good. I can see it.
It's innocuous.
Yeah, it's just never something that anyone is going to like be like, hey, you ever seen the Sin Turn?
I mean, I will now.
All right, dude. This brings us to your number one. What was your favorite film that we reviewed on the show this year?
Okay, so when I got to tell a little bit of a story, but I'll keep it quick.
Okay.
So when I was working at GBH, doing the captioning for the news, I started 2 days before the insurrection, and I was doing national news, like CBS Evening News type of stuff. And from my first day on, things were, and here's that word again, bleak, just awful. There was, I had to do a 48-hour show about the guy that buried his wife and daughters in oil barrels. Like, and his name was Chris, which wasn't great. I don't like hearing my name on TV anywhere. For bad stuff.
Unfortunately, there's a lot of people named Chris in the world, so
I know I'm gonna have to change that shit. Anyway, so I decided, I told my wife, I said, this was the beginning. This is before like leading to my mental breakdown that I'm gonna try to not be embarrassed to talk about. I said to my wife, hey, I don't think I want to watch stuff that's like real, that's like upsetting and gonna make me mad. I'm gonna try to avoid all that stuff. And she said, that's not possible.
No, it's not.
I said, yeah, I know, but I can certainly cut a lot of it out. And I started to watch stuff that might be a little more uplifting or happy, more comedies, more light stuff, which is probably, the Sin Turn probably hit right at the right time.
Yeah, good timing.
So I'd been looking for stuff over the pandemic. I really got into British game shows and all the quiz stuff. So I've learned and got to know a lot of the British comedians. And the guy in this movie has worked with one of my favorite comedians over there, Joe Wilkinson. So I thought, Joe has an interesting sense of humor. I bet his friends do too. So I picked this movie called Brian and Charles.
Mm.
And it's about a man that is fine. He's nothing really wrong with him. He might be a little stunted mentally, like socially, but he's capable of living on his own. He's an inventor, but he's a whimsical inventor, I think is a good way to say it.
Yeah, I'd say.
Because he has strange ideas, like a Fraggle would come up with these kind of inventions. There's a sentence that's never come out of my mouth before.
Hopefully never again.
Yeah. So one day he decides to make a robot, and skipping over everything else because artificial intelligence, emotions, sentience doesn't matter. The fact is he has somebody that he feels is a friend. And then it's basically, you could look at as xenophobia or racism because the people in town don't like the robot. They don't like him. And it really just ends up being the story of a person who's lonely, who wants somebody that will be their friend, that'll just be there. And if he makes the robot, he knows he can trust it and that it won't stab him in the back or hurt him. At least that's the idea going in. And you see that Brian has people that are interested in him and care about him, but I think he's, whatever he's got, which feels familiar, it doesn't push him to go outside and start new relationships with other people. And I could identify with that a bunch. And I really like the idea of this guy just totally 100% gave himself into that relationship with his friend, with his robot friend. And I've realized a lot of things about myself and my life that I kind of just put out of my head and ignored and like thought I could go my whole life without facing. And that didn't happen.
Nope.
So I have to deal with shit, and I'm becoming a lot better understanding why I like things, why I react the way I do to stuff. And a lot of it has to do with rejection dysphoria, which means I take things a lot harder. I don't, because my brain's stupid, I guess. But I could see that in him. Like, he's made this robot. It lives with him. It's not gonna call him names or call him stupid, tell him his ideas are dumb. And it felt sad but hopeful that he needed to build this person, this robot, to be with him, to have a friend. But I mean, the good thing does come out of it in the end. And stop listening now because I'm going to say it. You know, he realizes that he has friends. He just didn't see them that way. Because he didn't. I don't think he really understood any of it. Not as well as neurotypical people would, let's say.
Right.
And it was good. I as a kid, you know, being bullied, you have this fantasy of somebody stepping in to help you or save you, and that kind of played out in this, and that was nice to see because it went the way you want it to go, and you really do care about these two. And the other woman that's introduced, I'm not going to talk much about her because watch the movie. But this was a really sweet surprise. I think it deserves to be a cult movie, and I think it deserves more recognition. I think if it does catch on, people would enjoy it because it is just a nice story about a guy that wants a friend.
Yeah,
and he's not an asshole. Like that's the thing too. And that one just stuck with me. Like I saw it on the list, and I'm like, oh, and I'm like, oh shit, I know what that means. Because the guy was so like calm and sweet and tender when he's dealing with what is basically a baby, a life form. you get this crash course in who he is, and it I don't know. I got defensive when the bullies are facing off against him. I'm like, you fucking leave him alone. I know you have to do it because it's the movie, but Jesus Christ. But yeah, it just that one hit me in a way that I wasn't expecting. And I thought it was a nice story. And the robot, they don't even try to make it like believable as a robot. It doesn't matter. I mean, it's a robot in the same way that the robots in, Ed Wood movies were robots, for example, like just boxes and dryer vent arms. But it was fun. It was fun. It was nice. It still makes me feel good having watched it.
Fair. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, man.
Yeah.
Good pick. Good film. I didn't like it as much as you did, but I definitely enjoyed it. So.
Yeah, okay. I had stuff going on.
Well, it's funny because you chose like a feel-good film, and my number one is like the bleakest movie we covered all year. So.
All right. Good.
So, this was a film that has been on a large number of cult film lists, and for whatever reason, we had never covered it. And it was suggested through our Patreon by one of our listeners. It's very interesting because it's directed by Mick Jackson, and he went on to direct films like L.A. Story, The Bodyguard, Clean Slate, Volcano, and a whole host of other things. But my number one film this year, and when I say favorite, it's kind of a loaded term because it's definitely not my favorite, but I understand and appreciate how effective the film Threads was.
Yes.
Which was a TV movie made in 1984 for British TV that basically was the world in 1984 was on the brink of what felt like nuclear war every day.
Yeah.
And this film...
kind of like now.
Yeah, it's different now, but like...
Yeah, because it's going to happen.
Probably. But if this film shows the effects of a nuclear holocaust on, a smaller city in England, it's specifically Sheffield. But why this is so effective is... it's not like sugar-coated in any way, shape, or form. It is 100% shown the way that they think it would happen.
Yeah.
So it feels realer than virtually any movie I've seen in a number of years. And this is 1984, and it still feels that real to me watching it. The idea of how people survive, how they are able to in 2024, the nuclear weapons that are out there will just wipe out the whole planet. Nobody's going to survive. But this was shown in a way that was like, wow, man, maybe death was better.
I thought there was a movie or so. I remember some tagline that's like, don't pity the dead, pity the living. It was probably some zombie movie or something, but that's really what nuclear war boils down to. Hope you die in the first wave.
And it's really interesting because one of the biggest things in this is they show that how the government, they can't cope with there's no way for them to take care of things. And it scared people so badly that the BBC never showed it again. Luckily we got DVDs and Blu-rays of it later on to bring it back, but it aired the one time and the people were so terrified by it that they never aired it again. And it is seriously it is one of the scariest films I've ever seen because it just feels so fucking real.
Yeah. It's there's not makeup on these people. Nothing's set dressed to look pretty. It's just they went. It's like old Doctor Who episodes. It's like, can we film here? Okay, good. We're doing it now. Oh, now? Yeah, now. They don't dress the set. They don't do anything. Is Rock Quarry, Doctor Who, go. And that's how this felt. It's like we're gonna maybe add some trash to this street. But the only other difference is this cop's gonna be wearing a plastic bag on his face.
Yeah.
Everything else is the same way it is.
So my number one is Threads. It's not a film that I will revisit often, but it is easily the most effective piece I've seen in quite a long time. And it's
Yeah.
Any other stuff you want to make mention of quick here before we move on to Joe's segment?
Yeah, I'm just gonna read a bunch of titles from 10 to 1.
Okay.
These are I think these are ones that we can recommend as examples of good bad movies from this year. The Majorettes.
Yep.
That was fun. Buzzard. I don't know how I feel about that.
I want to say that I didn't like it.
I don't think I liked it either, but I think it's a good representation of stuff that we cover. The color version of Hard to Be a God.
Yep.
The Last Movie Star.
Yeah, the Burt Reynolds film, that was very good.
That really sent me down a whole existential aging hole. Dream Demon. I want to say that was stupid and goofy.
Yep.
Robo War is just a bunch of people playing Predator. Skyman kept me interested in what was going on in this pseudo UFO documentary kind of thing.
That was one I felt was ruined by the ending.
I don't remember the end. So
exactly.
Good for me. Number 3 is that highly ambitious ending from the movie, not just the ending, but the whole movie that had the highly ambitious ending, Star Pilot. That was a weird black and white one.
Yep.
With women wearing mini skirts and sheer outfits.
Yep.
And then number 2, I have Doom Asylum because obviously I said already. And number 1 would be The Sin Turn. Those are the ones that like I could see myself recommending. And it's good because it's all different taste ranges there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
the only ones that I'll mention that you didn't was the Terror Train remake that was made on Tubi was very solid.
Yeah.
In terms of so bad it's good, I felt Party Line falls into that.
Okay.
Queens of Evil, which we did a couple weeks ago, I thought was very good.
What about It's What's Inside?
Yes. Wasn't that on our end of year list though? Like for 2024?
I didn't have it on mine.
I think it was on my list.
I remember we talked about it and seriously, it's a body switching movie that keeps track of shit.
Yeah.
And top notch on the continuity editor for this movie. Great job, everybody. Yeah. I like that. I'm like, there's 9 people or whatever. How are we going to keep track of who's in who? And then they just did it. And it's like, oh, okay, that's easy. Good. Because they could have made it complicated just to throw us off as an audience. But they didn't. And it was still a decent mystery.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything else here that we didn't mention already.
I mean, a good bad one, Shin Kamen Rider, was really weird. And I think the only other things I have on here is Oddity and In a Violent Nature, but
I know
I only watched In a Violent Nature once. Yeah.
The Piper was pretty good, if I remember.
Oh, yeah.
There you go. They have it. That's all the stuff from the past year. We start fresh next year or next week. So let's, Joe is going to be off next week. So he is doing Carnosaur 1 and 2 together here.
Oh, okay.
So let's give, well, actually, no, he sent me both of them. I'm not going to play them together.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's good. Cause then we'll have them for next week.
Yes.
All right.
Okay. Well, here's his review of Carnosaur 1.
Well, hello, Bill. Hello, Chris. And hello, OTC Nation. Your boy Joe here. And this week, Bill said, welcome to Jurassic Park. And then he said, psych, bitch, you're watching Carnosaur. Deep down, I think I always knew this day would come. Maybe it just took so long that I forgot about it, and I thought I lived in a world where mercy exists. But no. Here I am about to hit play on Carnosaur. Mm-hmm. So you know how some straight-to-video movies got you to rent them based on how cool and intriguing the box cover was? I'm looking at you, Silent Night, Deadly Night. Carnosaur is the opposite of that. Carnosaur is the demon king sitting on a throne made of the deceased enthusiasm of young cinephiles, the leftover popcorn dregs in a small-town video store popcorn machine that hasn't been cleaned since Romancing the Stone was the #1 VHS flying off the shelves, and old plastic clamshells that are so cloudy and stained that you put on gloves to pull the tape out and toss the porous bacteria sponge that once held a well-loved copy of Hard Bodies in the trash. Hello, Quark. That verbose and overwrought description is a really long way to say that the box cover for Carnosaur was so cheap and bad that I never even considered renting it. And fellas, I would rent any fucking thing back in the day.
True. We all
now,
would.
you know that I'm going to get a punch out of my Film Freak card for this, but your boy has never seen any of the Carnosaur films.
Huh.
Yes, I know. that by now I should have caught it for basically free on streaming. Or I'm sure there's got to be like an MST3K of this I could watch. But no. Based on the cover art that looks like some photographer yoinked his kid's dollar store Jurassic Park knockoff toy, threw a little backlight in there, took a drag off his cigarette and blew it into the frame. Click. Without even thinking, without even looking in the viewfinder, he sent it off to Corman. He got his $20 and, he won't give a fuck either. So here we go. Breaking a 48-year Carnosaur-free streak.
We're not even at the review yet.
I know. Streak being broken. I think we all know that when the first thing you see on your screen is Roger Corman Presents, you are playing Russian roulette with the next 90 minutes of your life.
True.
I'd like to sum up the entire first act of Carnosaur with a conversation that I just had with my wife, who has been sitting next to me reading a book while I watch this. Jerry, I thought this movie was about dinosaurs. Me, it is. They just haven't shown it yet. Jerry, so it's not about dinosaurs. Me, no, it is. They just haven't shown it yet. Like in Jaws. Jerry, do they know the kind of movie they're making? Good point.
Question I ask all the time.
End scene. So far, this movie plays out like a drunken flunky of a geologist working for the man every night and day. There's a cute hippie girl from a local commune who tries some eco-terrorism, and apparently all you need to be is cute to get away with that because Doc is clearly smitten and doesn't rat her out. Now, I'm not saying that has never worked. I'm just saying, as someone who works in his local court system, I've seen many cute girls not get away with crimes despite being cute. But I'm applying real-world logic to Carnosaur, so, that's 100% on me.
Shame on you, man.
I'll give them a few things here. They hired John Carl, I think I'm going to pronounce this right, Buechler?
Yep.
To do the special effects. So while Carnosaur itself might look like exactly what it was, a fucking hand puppet, it was probably 10 times better than a lesser effects guy would have done on this budget.
That's
and
fair.
The human gore from Carnosaur's victims kind of makes this entire thing watchable. Like, he had fun. I'll also give them the cheeky nod to Jurassic Park. Corman rushed production on this film based on the pre-release buzz Jurassic Park was getting, and they cast Diane Ladd as the mad scientist who is releasing a virus to kill mankind and usher back in the dinosaurs because, I don't know, yada yada. She has a whole speech about it.
That's a terrible
I'm
plan.
the hero here. I'm going to split that wig with a 9mm bullet once she starts talking instead of standing there looking outraged, as Raphael Sbarge does in this. The cute part is that, and this is credited to my wife, I didn't know this, Diane Ladd is Laura Dern's mom.
Oh.
Christmas must have been awkward that year. Hey, Mom, my movie was the highest grossing film of all time for about 5 years until fucking Titanic came out and is still in the top 25 highest grossing films of all time, spawned a theme park that Joe's been to twice, it's awesome, and multiple billions of dollars. How did Carnosaur do?
I wasn't in that movie.
Oh, to be fair, it spawned 4 sequels, so I don't know. I think I got the plot in there while making fun of people and things. At the end of the day, this is typical Roger Corman fare, and I don't even mean that in a shitty way. Like, he had a way of making the most out of the least, we all know that. And he almost always focused on the one things that movies, good and bad, should try to be. It was fun. As much as I hate to admit it, and this is not a good movie. Let me repeat that. This is not a good movie. I kind of had fun watching it. Am I glad it's over? Yes. Did I have a good time? Begrudgingly, also yes. Roger Corman is also one of the few things Detroit has produced that's actually worth a damn. So here's the thing. The good. It's got really fun, bloody, gory special effects and some really cool kills that they didn't shy away from the weird and the gross the way other films would. Like there's a thing where all the hippies from the commune have chained themselves to like a big piece of farm equipment, and then Carnosaur shows up and they're like, beans, we made a bad choice. and they all get ripped apart, and it's super fun. The bad, despite having some good actors like Diane Ladd, Raphael Sbarge, Jennifer Runyon, Ned Bellamy, and Clint Howard. Yes, the Clint Howard.
Oh, that's not surprising.
The script they have to work from feels like it was written by an AI program that has been forced to watch bottom-of-the-barrel sci-fi movies for its entire existence. No AI has ever researched how to kill itself more than that AI. Carnosaur is going to get a surprising B-.
Wow.
All
right.
I'm being generous, but, it was kind of fun. I'm trying to put a little more thought into my grading. I'm a realist, so I know that out of the next 4 Carnosaur films, Jesus Christ, I might like one of them. 2 if I'm lucky. We'll see if I'm lucky next week when I watch Carnosaur 2. Until then, be good, everyone.
Thanks, Joe. If I'm not mistaken, Carnosaur 2 sucks out all of the fun that you had in the first one. If I'm not mistaken.
That's not good.
Oops, sorry. All right. Where's Scott's news? I gotta find. There it is. Don't quote me on that though, but I am pretty sure that the second one is like real fucking bad. All right.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Let's play Scott here.
Wow, it's been a long season of OTC. It's hard to believe it's been less than a year since Bill pretended to have surgery so he could take a couple vacations. So seeing how as a celebration of the end of year 16, I think we need a little refresher about where this show really started.
Outside the cinema uses such coarse words as anal. So if you're upset by any of these words or offended in any way, don't listen. And if that's still not enough, you can go yourself.
Oh,
Yeah.
that was good at the time though, wasn't it?
It was. 17 years ago.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
With Reverend Scott.
Won't someone please think of the children?
Hey there, Bill and Chris. This is Reverend Scott, the foremost leader in adult podcast entertainment.
But he acts like a child.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't seem like he's ever been treated like an adult, so...
Well, I hope you don't start today because ain't nobody got time for that. I have to focus on what I have planned for this week and how I can best fit in as much non sequitur childish humor as possible.
Daddy. I'm like, oh my God, Jesus.
Yeah.
So what's on the docket today, you might ask? Is it a rundown of every movie you've reviewed this last year and how they stack up?
Oh, hell yeah.
Well, I ain't doing that. That shit would take forever.
Ah, fuck.
Yep.
How about I just rank the movie reviews of yours that I reviewed in order of worst to best?
Oh, fucking pissa, dude. Definitely.
Well, that's a shitload of time and effort just to cover the same shit that you probably just covered on the show already today.
Oh, what the hell? I hate you.
Yeah.
Sure, I could tell you that reviews like the ones you did for Oddity or Queens of Evil were great, but you already know that.
No, I don't. No.
But what you may not already know is what I think about a new movie that just came out to the theater last week from the makers of Barbarian called Companion.
Tell me what it's about.
Now hold your horses there. Let me start by saying that this stars Jack Quaid of The Boys fame and Sophie Thatcher, who was briefly in Maxine and The Wonderful Heretic. So needless to say, I was pretty pumped to see this. Not to mention the trailer for this flick is pretty great, pretending to be a romantic film but then quickly turning into violent chaos. It left me thinking,
That's weird. How's that?
I'll start by saying there's a lot of twists and turns in this movie, way more than I was ever expecting. The first of which happens within about, maybe 10 minutes into the movie. And while I would normally avoid spoilers in any way that I could, If you watch the trailer, pay close attention to the tagline and the poster for this movie, or the way that they talk to Sophie's character Iris during the beginning of the film, you likely could have guessed the kind of cornerstone to this flick. And if you're interested in seeing Companion and you just want to go in completely blind, you've somehow ignored all that stuff, then we'll go right now. Watch it and come back. Okay, now that everyone's back from watching it, let's get into this. But don't worry, I'll leave the real juicy stuff a secret, no matter how much I tell you about this film.
Okay, good.
So we start out with Josh and Iris meeting for the first time in a supermarket. It's a silly, cute, yet memorable interaction between the two of them. And then we fast forward to Josh and Iris traveling in their car to the middle of nowhere to visit some friends. There's Eli and his boyfriend Patrick, plus Kat and her boyfriend Sergey. And Sergey just so happens to be the one that owns this huge lake house they're going to. He won't really say exactly how he makes his money, but he has a lot of tattoos, he has a thick Russian accent, and he tells them he's in quite a dirty business.
So Russian bathhouse?
Anyway, Iris is already kind of worried because she's always had the impression that Kat doesn't like her. And then mere minutes later, Kat is literally telling her that she doesn't like her.
Oh, no.
But it's kind of for a weird reason. It's because Iris makes Kat feel irrelevant. And why is that, you might say? Well, just like so many other clues leading up to this point, we find out quickly that Iris is a robot, an artificial companion.
Snap.
Yep.
So first, like I said, this is very early in the film, and the events that follow all surround this info, so it's almost impossible to talk about this without mentioning that fact. So anyway, back to the fuckbot, the artificial companion. Iris at first doesn't even know what she is. She just thinks she's a normal girl that has a boyfriend that she hangs out with. She has memories of how they met, which happen to be implanted memories. And I won't spoil some of the details surrounding all of the creation and how he comes to have her as his companion. But a lot of it is quite shocking, but also very hilarious. A lot of this is very dark humor, and it all works pretty well. And look, I get it. Most of you out there have a real partner that you met the old-fashioned way, and you had to date them and fall in love and get married and go through all that stuff. So you might be thinking already,
He fucking cheated.
and you know what? Maybe Josh did cheat. But I assure you, it gets worse than that. Because a series of events begins to unfold, and there's some very poor decisions made by virtually everyone. And there is a character trying to force themselves onto another character, and it ends in
Pepe
a
Le Pew.
murder. And man, I really want to tell you more.
Stop.
Yeah.
Just please stop.
Yeah.
I'll just say this. The more you find out about the details surrounding this murder, the more fucked everything seems.
This is not good.
There's so many layers to this story regarding motivation and how the opportunity came to pass, and the tension and level of fucked up things going down just continues to build exponentially. New characters get involved and things just get out of hand to a degree that you would never expect. The creative ideas used with the premise of a companion robot that's loyal to you and can't lie to you, and just the thought of, if this was real life, can you fucking imagine the kind of shenanigans the general public would get into with this type of technology at their disposal?
Right. Jesus.
Yeah. Crazy.
This movie needs a full spoiler review to really appreciate it. And the world of future cult flicks that you guys could review on the show, this is
Legit. Call it movie fair.
This is going to thrive on word of mouth mainly. At least that's what I'm assuming. So this is my official recommendation that you go see the movie Companion while you still can. And I highly recommend it, and I give it an A-.
Oh, shit. Wow.
Well, that about wraps it up for this anniversary week on OTC. I'm sure it's been a longer than average show already, so I bet you guys are ready to get out of here and get to your other plans.
Nap time in kindergarten.
I hope you enjoyed our 16th year together as I constantly bombarded you weekly with my comedy musings.
I guess it's a comedy. It's a comedy
It was written as a comedy, yes.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, I'm sure you would recommend people listen to the Holy Shit segment.
I am going to recommend this as a ripoff.
Rip off. I would never cheat the listeners.
He's a liar. So if he said I didn't cheat, he fucking very well did cheat. He's never done anything honest in his life.
Well, I honestly want us all to ride off into the sunset as we begin our 17th year. And I really look forward to talking with both of you again soon.
I don't ever want to see you again. I don't ever want to talk to you again.
Yeah.
So until next anniversary, peace and love, guys. Outside the Cinema with Bill, Chris, Joe, and Reverend Scott.
This group of guys looked like a bunch of day-drinking deep-sea fishermen that went out to make a movie without a script and no knowledge of the military.
Yeah, we do.
Not sure if you heard or not, the UPS guy showed up and barked. Well, I was excited about it. He's been eyeing me to go out for the last 45 minutes. So, hey guys, thanks for joining us as we go into year 17. Thank you guys for still listening. I know we have our nice tight community of people that are listening week to week. So if you'd like to support the show, go to patreon.com/outside the cinema. That's helping us keep the show alive. And as long as you're listening, we'll keep doing it.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much it for this week, guys. We'll be back next week. If you're a Patreon listener, get us some movie titles. We'll see what we can do about covering as many of them as we can. All right?
Agreed.
All right. Everyone have themselves a good week.
All right. Bye.